you can see it on a map. If you look red, blue, where's red? And the truth is, I look at it as it's really a clash of cultures, by and large. I really think that on the coasts and in a lot of the cities, you have people that they look at the world a certain way. And then in other parts of the country, maybe the middle of the country, they look at the world a certain way.
Yep.
So what I'm saying in all this is my best analysis I can come up with, is that we know we didn't like what was there. We all had problems with it. We said, okay, we're starting to move that aside, but now it's a power struggle for whose vision of America is gonna gain control.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. But when going back to when you said, what group of people is the power going to? I think there isn't a group of people that the power is going to. I think the power is in where else in America can somebody be, or where else in the world other than America can somebody be born under a bridge with nothing and become a billionaire? Right? I think that the power that I'm talking about is the ability to be able to do that no matter what race or where you come from.
Yep.
So when I say he's taking the power, it's a lot of it is in the way of money. All the tariffs that he's charging China right now, he's giving all that money back to the farmers, right? So when I say, I mean it in a way of he's giving opportunity and the environment to thrive.
Right.
But what's happening is you have Democrats, Republicans, and anarchists and whatever, and what they're trying to do is fight over that pretend power and push it down to the people as I'm giving that to you, not them. Vote for me. I'm opening those doors for you to be able to open that business, not Donald Trump.
Right.
Vote for me.
Right.
So I think that when I say he's giving the power back, you got to remember there's people in the middle who are divvying up that power and saying it's coming from them.
That's true too.
Yeah,
so, and all I'm saying to clarify here is, and I do think that Republicans there's a certain mindset that talks about us being more responsible. Maybe that's Republican. In other words, we make our own future.
Yes.
Which is what you're talking about. And that power is important. What I'm saying, though, is that people in certain parts of the country, I'm not saying whether they're right or not, but the way they look at the world, and it may have to do literally with the kind of place you live. So we live in a unique spot where it's a little city, and it has both liberal and conservative things getting mixed together here. But still, by and large, it's a small town, and it's very easy, if you want to call it that, to start a business. It's very easy to own your own thing and to make yourself. When you live in these big cities, I don't think it's easy. And I think that's what plays into this, sadly. It's a tale of two cultures.
Yeah, you're right.
And I wish there was a way to fix it, although I think the better way to fix it is probably more along, you would agree with, let's localize things more. Let's stop trying to fix everything with a one-size-fits-all approach.
That's right. Well, and that's let's jump over to COVID. Let's segue to COVID that way, because if you look at what the country did, shutting the world down, they kind of took the New York model and just said, "Here you go, rest of the world." And we didn't have to be under. There were certain parts of the world that didn't have to be shut down like New York was. Yeah. But you're right. The different areas, definitely. Two different perspectives, two different ways of looking at things. And you're right. If you were to try to start the same business in downtown Brooklyn as you were to start here, you would have massive costs, massive security issues, massive, too many businesses that are larger than you. You wouldn't even be able to get into the market. And so it does hold you down. Because of where you are. You're right, 100%.
So there's no simple things here, but the beginning is to actually talk about this and work on it. I think, though, that what is sad, and this is a great thing for us to definitely be thinking about, is the only way for us as a country forward. It doesn't matter what you have in your life. You've experienced this. Your attitude plays into it so much. Yes. One of my concerns, and it really doesn't matter what political view anybody has, is no matter what you get, if you don't have the right attitude, you won't be able to look at it in the right way and do the right things with it.
Right.
And I think that's what we have to be careful of. Now, that's true for everybody. Like, we all have to be careful. And I think, we should talk a little bit about racism. There's really different dynamics at play. And one of them that I see, and I've talked about it on my channel, is we don't always do a good job from, like, a white perspective of like, really showing, like, yeah, we definitely care. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I think it's something we have to make the extra effort to show and to listen to people. And I'm sure you have black friends. I do.
Yep.
When you actually listen to them, it really helps open up your perspective a lot. When you just take the time to listen. And they're not all the same. They don't all have the same view. But listen to people, right?
Well, I mean, it's going back to the thing we started with, dialogue.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I would consider him a brother to me. Definitely, I would raise his kids if he was no longer here, and he would do the same with mine. And he happens to be black. Mm-hmm. And we had this conversation the other day where there was a gentleman, a white guy, who was trying to join a Black Lives Matter march. Okay, that was marching down the street peacefully, and he got the bullhorn up front, mm-hmm. and he said, I'm white, obviously, mm-hmm. but I agree with what you're doing. Yep. I agree that we need to bring, awareness to racism that people might not even know exist. I'm here for you. And then he went like this, and he pulled out his Make America Great Again hat, and he put it on, and he said, I am a Trump supporter, and I would like to march with you. Oh. And they threw things at him. Oh. And they booed him out of there, and the police made him leave because it was going to cause a riot. Wow. So when I said that to my friend, Dell, I said, look at this. Yeah. People don't even want, and I'm not saying a certain people, the people that were in that march of all different colors did not want unity that day. And he said, well, how do you know? And I said, the video. This is where dialogue takes place. Okay. He goes, how do you know that they didn't want unity? And I go, the video shows it. I showed him the video. Yeah. And he goes, the approach. Ooh. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, had he not been a Trojan horse, got them to agree with him, and then went like this, wow. They looked at that like a gotcha moment to make them look bad in front of the audience and the cameras that were on him. Had he went in there with the MAGA hat on to begin with, mm-hmm. and said the same exact thing, he was willing to bet they would have let him march with him. Yeah. And I said, I didn't even think of that. But going back to the dialogue from different perspectives, right? Now, when I ran for county commissioner here, because I'm a Trump supporter, mm-hmm. I had people screaming at me on the street while I'm holding my sign saying, you racist bigot. And I'm like, I hate to say this as a white person because it almost sounds like, well, I have black friends too. But I don't know a person in this town who sincerely has more people of culture and color that they're friends with than myself. Right. You know what I mean? And just through the music business alone. And I thought that was, I couldn't believe.
So I'm so glad you said that. You're like segueing perfectly into something I wanted to dialogue about. And that's that racism is shifting its meaning. I think it's been happening for a while, I guess, but I know I've become aware of it in the last, few days, probably really understanding it. Like, wait a second, we're talking about different things here when we say racism. And the word that's being used is systemic racism. Yep. And what I feel like is when you put that word systemic in front of it, it kind of actually makes a very tricky situation where it's hard to even identify what it is. I have listened, though. I've tried my very best to listen to what's being said, and I understand what's really being said in that is the system is stacked against certain people in certain instances, and I can understand mm-hmm. that. Mm-hmm. But when you hear that term systemic, it also implies that a whole system needs to be replaced. So it's really talking about something different than what you mean and what I mean and what I think traditionally racism meant, which was, right. Do you do you look down, or do you have animosity, or
think you're a better
and I feel like there's this thing right now, and again, that's why we have to have the right attitude, because only love can look at things the right way. Look, if you are having a problem with someone because you don't have love, everything they do can be an offense to you.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Right?
Yep.
Because you can always say, "Oh, I know why you did that." Right?
Exactly. The way they chew, the way they drink, anything they do.
But when you have love, the Bible says, covers a multitude of sins. Like, you actually look past, So it's like this, you can't win with some people. Like, if you say, well, it's really unpopular right now to be colorblind. Like, we should recognize differences. Okay, fine, we'll recognize it. Well, now you're racist. Which is it?
Well, it's really hard for, and I'm not because other perspectives would argue that, would say, how's it feel, right? Yeah. But I'm going to say this: it's really hard to be a white male in this world today, because as a white male, regardless of where you've been or how you've grown up, you have something to answer for, and you don't know what this person's going through because of your skin color. If you say something, we're going to pick apart what you say and say you don't even know you don't even know that you're racist, but you are. If you don't say something, silence is violence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're almost...
Yeah, you're guilty no matter what.
You're guilty no matter what.
Which they're outright saying with the term white
privilege and systemic racism.
Yeah.
Right?
You are guilty.
But I think what we've done is, and you hit the nail on the head when you said the definition of racism, the word racism is changing. What I think the world means to say is prejudice and not racist. I think people use this word racist, they throw it around, and it waters down the meaning of the actual word. The actual word means that you feel that another person is inferior to you because they don't have the same color of skin that you have, or that they didn't have the same upbringing or culture that you had, or they're from a different country, and that they're automatically not as high as you, and that you hold them in disregard. That's what racism means. Right. Prejudice is what we see today. We see people prejudging people based on the red hat that they wear with the white lettering, based on the color of their skin, based on their political affiliation, based on everything. We see a prejudice world, a prejudging world that doesn't give you the time of day for dialogue. Because I've said it a million times. Put two people in a room that you know. One is a Biden supporter and one is a Trump supporter. You know it, but they don't know it. They don't know why they're there. They go into a room and they answer a series of questions. Do you like safety? A safe community? Oh yeah, of course we do. Do you like job security and fair wages? Right. Well, yeah, of course we do. Do you want your children to have a safe environment to be able to go out and ride their bikes and not have to worry about X, Y, and Z? Well, of course we do. And you can go on and on and on and on, right? And then go like this. Put on your hats.
Right.
Make America great again. Right. Biden works for you, or whatever his slogan is. Sure. They're going to hate each other. Yep. Instantly. Yep. They're going to lose 99% of the things they have in common because that's a prejudice.
Of course.
You must be racist.
We're wired that way.
You must not love this.
I'm like an example of this right now. I'm wearing Phillies stuff. And it's just a good example of we're wired this way. Sometimes it's more, morally wrong, obviously. And that's the point, is love has a way of taking these things and making them good. So like sports could be a way where you actually hate the person who doesn't have the label you have. But when sports is looked at through the right lens, it actually becomes like a camaraderie. Like you actually respect the people that are on the opposing side, right? Yeah. That's good sportsmanship.
Yeah, no,
it's like,
I agree.
Thank you for actually giving me a real fight. Like you actually stood up, and that was awesome.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And I think we got to get back there. Like
I do too. Friendly competition, agree to disagree. Whatever happened.
That's when America's good. It's like when we are like, that's okay that you disagree. Cool. Let's fight this out.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, it's people they're looking at the world and saying that they're thinking that our weaknesses are our weaknesses. But what they're calling our weaknesses, which is having a difference of opinion, is our strength. Our very strength as a country is diversity and difference of opinion.
Isn't that on our coin, out of many one? Like, that's like the whole
I think that's
concept
exactly.
is like out of many
so
one.
Why are we trying to get the world on any side to conform to the other side?
Thing. Right, yes.
You can't have the Red Sox without the Yankees.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. So I don't understand. I look at the world, but again, this is me. I'm looking at all my friends that have not had this journey that I've had with Christianity, and I'm going, wow, I was thinking like that.
Yeah.
So now I don't worry as much. I don't stress out over it as much. There's nothing that I can do other than right around me. And, I told my buddy today, he's in the middle of buying a brand new house, first time buyer, right? Yeah. This is a big thing for him and his wife. And all he's doing is sending me, what are they going to do about that autonomous city? Are they just going to let people keep doing this? When is this going to happen? Why is that happening? And I said, you're supposed to be buying a house right now. I said, why don't you put that energy towards the positive thought of that?
Yeah.
I said, politics and what's going on around the world is like the stock market. It's like a long-term investment. Don't watch it day by day.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Be aware of it.
Yeah.
And live your life.
Well, there's good news in light of everything we've been talking about. Baseball is coming back.
Yep.
So at least it's one distraction to get people away from just obsessing about politics, which, it has its place. It's important, but it shouldn't rule our lives. And that's what I hear you saying.
Well, the politicians have done a good job on both sides doing that over the last 10 years, making everything political.
Yeah, true.
Because then they can get more votes.
Yep.
When we should just be living life, fishing with our kids. Yeah. There's a lot of good things that have come out of COVID-19.
That's right.
Don't get me wrong, people. There is. Families are spending more time together.
That's true.
Parents have adjusted the way that they've spent time with their kids, and I know my wife and I have adjusted our patience with our children, and we've gotten back to being more basic. We're doing this new thing now. This is so cool. You've probably done this forever, but we're new, so give us a break. But we do this new thing now where we have this a big expo board up, and each day, because there's 7 of us, Lily is, but each day one kid writes a Bible verse that they want to talk about later that night. But it has to have meaning, right? It has to have like hope or a message about hard times, right? Each person takes I'll find a verse about this. So today, Tristan put up, and we can't look at the verse until it's at the end of the night. Yeah. And then we all sit down and we grab different Bibles, and we're reading the different translations to see how close they are.
That's cool.
But what it does is it forces us to do that. Just that little verse forces us to all sit down and do that. Forces the kids to write it, or me to write it when it's my day. Yeah. So it's not just John 3:16. There's a meaning behind it. And so Tristan put up today Joshua 1:9, and I don't know what that is, but we're gonna find out tonight.
That's awesome.
And I'm excited. So that's the kind of stuff we've started to do out of COVID-19.
That is great, man. That is awesome. Well, I think that's a good place to kind of wrap up here and say, it's good to know as Christians that God is in control.
Yeah.
And, we're supposed to do the best we can, right? Work, do it diligently for the Lord. But at the end of the day, trust Him. He's in control. And I think that's really a comfort and a peace, and keeps everything in perspective for us.
Yeah.
Right? So that we're like, okay, I'm doing what I can. I'm responsible to do what God has given me, but I leave the rest in His hands.
Yeah.
Because He's got it.
He's got it a lot better than any of us.
And I always try to keep in mind, we were born in a really good time. I mean, at least so far in our lives, we've had it really easy. When I look at the World War II generation, when I look at, people who went through slavery, I mean, and then you go even back beyond, before the modern world.
When everybody's life was terrible. You died at 30.
so
no, we did.
It's a good thing to keep in mind.
Right.
We really have had it so good. And so we also just should be so thankful, and that's what's great. I see that God has changed your life, and you're grateful to Him, And that's how we all need to be, just grateful, thanking God every day. But you know what? Doing this stuff too, isn't it great?
It is.
Isn't it great to be able to talk?
Well, again, dialogue. Everybody should just be taking this time to sit down and talk to somebody.
That's right.
Yep.
So if you've been listening to this, you may not agree with everything that was said. That's okay.
It's okay.
That's why we want to have dialogue. But of course, you should agree with pretty much everything I say. No.
Yeah, because it's a fresh perspective.
Thank you for advertising, Jeremy. Always appreciate that. And thank you, Jeremy, for joining me today.
Thank you, too.
We'll hopefully do it again.
Yeah, I'd like
to. And talk some more, because this was really fascinating. I love this stuff. So for those who like this kind of stuff, it's good to be able to have conversations.
Well, what would be really good is if we could figure out how to do a roundtable discussion and have different perspectives on different things and challenge each other on things. I've wanted to do that for a long time, have 5 or 6 people and just do what we just did.
Yeah.
Because you're going to learn so much in that hour.
Yeah. That would be cool.
It's cool.
Cool. So, well, thank you again.
Yep.
Great having you today. And thank you all for watching this conversation from A Frisch Perspective.